Hey, everybody. Welcome to the John D. Podcast. I'm your host, John D. Miller. Welcome to episode number 51, everybody. Numero 51 in the old Espanol language. That's right. 784, going on 785 days now of no booze. No booze and no booze. That's right. How are you guys? How are yees? How are yous? How are y'alls? What's going on? Yes, let's get right to it. The big story going on. A lot of you people who follow the podcast for a while might remember last episode I was talking and going on about a rebrand coming. You're probably going, why is it still called John D Podcast, John? Right? Is that how that? Yeah, I think that's how that said. Anyways, yeah. So I was talking real quick. Hopefully anybody new will be interested for a second. I just want to explain. I know I said I was gonna be moving on to a different sort of label on the podcast here, and I didn't know at the time that there were some things in the works that now, because I am into those, which are good things, they kind of preclude me from switching up, at least at the moment. So I'm going to keep this rolling right on. Is that okay? Is that all right? There were some changes that you're obviously going to know. Your way in to this episode, you probably noticed a little commercial, probably for a local product around you or business. Yeah, that's part of what I'm in. I have left the abusive, condescending relationship of schmishmanker or schmonify for spish podcasters. Just didn't like him anymore. I had to do some stuff, had to move on, and I did do that. And I'm also moved into something that is going to be a little more, I had to make a little bit of an investment and a little bit of a change. And part of that involves what you heard on the way in, and you're going to hear some other stuff. You're going to hear some commercials, not just me, my glorious voiceover work. You're going to hear other things, but that's the modern world. That's the modern era. I'll try to keep them to a minimum, but I tell you what, you can support the show, John D Podcom on Venmo, or I tell you what, here's a deal I'll make with you, and I promise you this: the more listens I get, the less commercials I'll have to run. Does that make sense? So what does that tell you? So when you start hearing less commercials, you go, oh, John's listeners are going up. We'll have that. So if you like the podcast, tell your friends. But through all of that, it brought back our good friends, BlendJet. BlendJet, that's right, BlendJet. John D Pod 12 for 12% off and free shipping. But you hear more about that later. Anyway, that's what's going on. That's what I did. The powers that be weren't going to let me switch over to the thing I wanted to, and that's okay. Or I don't know. I'm not even explaining it that correctly. It's doing this thing is really difficult. Just to name, in case anybody's their first time listening to a podcast, it's not like naming a dog or something. Dog, you name it. Oh, your dog, his name is Ralph too? Okay, cool. No. This is where part of it is you come up with something very clever. All right, I'm going to tell you this about naming a podcast. And so you'll come up with a name and you'll go, oh, I like that name. That's a clever name. That's a good play on words, right? It's got some jingle to it. I mean, that's how you get the marketability, all that above, right? And so you sit there and you go and you go, oh, such and such a name. What am I looking at? Green Sticky Pad, right? That's the name. That's the name of your podcast. We'll call it Green Sticky Pad. And you look up Green Sticky Pad, and somebody, oh shit, it's already taken. All right, let's take a look and see. Just what this podcast is, with this really cool green name of Green Sticky Pad Podcast. God damn it, maybe I should have called it that. But anyways, you go and you look and you go, oh, well, the Green Sticky Pad Podcast, and then you look on there, and yes, there was a podcast called that at one point in time in 2019 and 2020 was when their last episode was released. And so you're like, wow, okay, well, what do I do then? Do I try to take it over? Were you taking over a restaurant that went out of business? Coming in, going to bring up a new sign called Under New Management? And no, Under New Management is not available. I already looked it up. I paused the recording and I looked it up already. I did not look up Green Pad Podcast because I don't think anybody would say that over and over again. But I'm just saying, so that's the problem with the name. And I've probably gone on way too long about this, but if for anybody who wants a little insight into the business thereof, that's the case. So I hope I explained that well, and I hope you guys understand, and I hope you bear with me, and I hope you be along for the journey, everybody. All right, well, now that we got that big story out of the way, let's get to the other one, of course. Let's talk about the Orange Menace getting his butt hauled down to the New York City courthouse. Well, it was Manhattan. It was a Manhattan courthouse, and he got taken in. A couple people asked me, what do you think about it? And I'm going to say this. I think it's sad. I think it's good, all at the same time. I think it's terribly sad that this guy was ever elected president. I think it's sad that he has gotten away with multiple crimes for a long time, going back to all the way when he was the landlord. I'm just saying that the timeline and how long this has gone on is just ridiculous. And I think it's going to continue. I think he's going to continue to have different cases come against him. And, you can say it's weaponization of a justice system or the Department of Justice or whatever you want to call it, say to put it into, but it's not. And it's, it's just simply fact that this man has been doing crimes for a very long time. And if anything, him being president put a very big magnifying glass on everything he's been doing. I think he deserves it for multiple reasons. And I think that it's going to be a lot more coming to him. Like I said, I think it's sad. I think it's sad that that dude was ever elected president. And, I know a lot of people support him. I've never been one of them. I think the only reason he got elected, well, one of the biggest reasons he got elected was that Hillary Clinton was a weak candidate. So I think it's sad. I'm just going to go about that way. That's it. It's sad. And I think it's going to be more. And, but I do think it's a good thing. And it's just going to continue. So, somebody had to do it. Put it that way. I do want to give props, though, through that whole thing to the guy who was I don't know what, his guard. He was something. Had a white shirt on, but he was one of the guys. And he came walking in front of Trump. And he didn't even leave the door open. He didn't even hold the door. Somebody buy that guy a sandwich. I'm serious. I will spend Panera money on that guy. I'm serious. I will spend Panera money on that guy. I'm not even joking. He deserves it. Just goes right out in front of Trump. He just doesn't even hold the door. Oh, and the indignant look on his face was just, like I said, it honestly made me sad, but also happy at the same time. The whole thing is just, seriously, has it really come down to that? Oh, this is sad. And what's her, plate face from Georgia? You know what I'm talking about. Somebody, she went to New York. I went to New York, and there was people falling over. How long was she there for? Because the only thing I saw was that I could find and kind of basically had to clip through watching different videos. The whole timeline of when she was there was she got to the place where she was going to do her little protest, her charade, and sit there and scream into a bullhorn. You know what I'm saying? With a little whiny drawl. I don't dislike people with southern accents. But hers is just that whiny. And there were people falling over there. I just couldn't even. What did she do? She got out of a opulent SUV, a large white SUV, went out and screamed on a bullhorn. People in New York City showed up and showed out. And this is wrong. This is what happened. No, she sat there bitching, and they blew whistles at her, chased her out of there. And she had to get back in her big white SUV and go into. They were shaking the car. They were putting their hands on my car. Shut up. You went there. Okay? You went there. It's ridiculous that people support that guy like that. But, that's how she is. And then she went on TV and somehow when she was there was people, the drug addicts falling over everywhere. It smelled bad. It's New York City, lady. I guarantee you, I've been to parts of Georgia. They didn't smell so good. I was not a high-level road comic. I'm not bragging sometimes when I talk about my comedy I used to do. Wasn't the best places. But I'm telling you, I know I've been through your district. Not all that place smelled great, okay? I love New York. New York City is awesome. I don't like your sports teams. I don't root for them. But I tell you what, I do love that city. And somebody said, hey, you could have, here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to really delve into this for you. I know what your district is, plate face. That's what we call her now on the show. Executive producer, Tom Hadcock. That's his voicemail when you call me, and I came up with that. So, plate face is, if somebody said to me, John D., you could go to New York for 3 days, all expenses paid, and have a great time. Or you could have an all expense paid trip to the 14th district of Georgia. Which you going to choose? Yeah, I'll go to New York. Thank you. I would much rather And look, don't get me wrong. I like Georgia. There's plenty of places in Georgia I've been that are very nice. And it's New York City. How many people do you have in New York City? Come on. I just couldn't believe she would go in there and just lie. And then just scaring the old white people. Just scaring all their fears and all their, all that shit. Making them feel like everybody up there is all crazy. No, there's a lot of really interesting shit that happens in New York City. And now, I don't get me wrong. Well, would you live there? No, I wouldn't. I would not live in New York City. Never. I would never, ever live in New York City. However, that said, I love to visit New York City. And the only reason I wouldn't live, I just couldn't do it. It's not my style. I thought about moving there several times. I almost did a couple. And then I moved on to saying I just want to go out to LA, which I never moved there. I visited too, but I never lived there. Point being, I'd rather go to New York than the 14th District of Georgia. Maybe. I'd do both. I might. If somebody says, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, Plateface. We love our Congress lady Plateface. She's awesome. I might have to throw a word in there, but I'm just, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll just treat the 14th District of Georgia like I do New York City and other cities' sport teams. Right? I'll just say, hey, great place, terrible representation. Right? Yeah. But at least, hey, this is the thing. At least the sports teams are there and all kinds of people like them. Not just old, scared white people in the 14th District of Georgia who voted for Plateface. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what I mean. People from all over are a great thing. So, yeah. What did she say? Smell bad and it was repulsive? Well, they didn't like you either. And they showed you. But it's all of this stuff. It's just continuing just the way that they speak of, well, you have to be tolerant of my views. Well, that means you have to be tolerant of other people. It's simple. The whole thing of this, oh, you're woke. You're woke. Some dad standing in a Target. I saw this the other day. I'm not going to say he looks like your typical annoy the shit out of you because you happen to be standing next to him and his kid on the other team from your son and you're rooting for your kid and he's rooting for his kid and his team and you're right. But he looked like one of them dudes. That's all I'm saying. He had on a pink shirt of all things that had said God made and then it had the bathroom signs symbol for men and women, right? But he's in the boys section at Target talking about how these woke agendas of people are taking away the masculinity of our boys. It's whatever. And he was holding these shirts and one of them had a unicorn and I don't know. I don't fucking care. I'm not going to buy that shirt at any point in time for my kid. If he had said, Dad, I want that shirt, I'd be like, go ahead and get it because I don't fucking care. That's the point. And then it gets to the end of his whole little spiel, his whole little grift. This is the part where it becomes a grift. He gets to the end of his whole little spiel, and then he sits there and he's like, yeah, subscribe, follow me on the such and such. Shut the fuck up. Yes, I say that myself, but at the same time, all I'm doing is making fun of people like him. That's what I'm saying. I'm making money off of your attempt to make money, and you're looking stupid. I'm doing commentary. There's a difference. Right? Is it? Maybe I'm wrong in all this. No, I'm just... Hey, if he has the right to do that, I have the right to do this. My point is, I think that the guy is stupid for it. And I think that fucking people are shooting beer. What the fuck is that? Kid Rock, who grew up an affluent white kid in northern Michigan in a lake mansion. Yeah, whatever that video was he had years ago with all the chicks in bikinis and he's on boats and he's like, talking about Michigan, but he used the Sweet Home Alabama. But he wants to go around saying like he's some sort of a Southern rock badass, and he's not. Maybe he likes Southern rock. I guess he identifies as Southern rock, right? Is that what it is? Uh-huh. Okay, fine. But anyways, he sits there and he gets all mad because Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch, made some sort of a deal with a transgender person, and people are losing their shit over it. So did anybody see the video? I'm sure people have seen the video where he takes there and he shoots. He's got like 4 cases of Bud Light sitting on a table, and he shoots it with the NAR Style 15, which is shooting style. His elbow was out. He said he needed to tuck his elbow in. His spread wasn't very good. I'm not even great at shooting guns. I tell him that part. Then he turns around and he's fuck Bud Light, fuck Anheuser-Busch. Screw you, Robert James Ritchie, if that is your real name. And then you got Travis Tritt. Travis Tritt. Don't you go making fun of Travis. I don't care. What did he say? I'm going to take Anheuser-Busch products out of my tour rider. Oh, really? Oh, well, all that's going to leave you with now is a 6-pack of Diet Coke, a pack of Twizzlers. Come on, man. Oh, you got rid of Twizzlers because they sound gay? Okay, have some Red Vines. Those things suck. I remember that happened one time. I went to the theater. It's a Regal. I don't know. You know, the chain, the Regal. And I don't know. And I went in there. I was like, yeah, a pack of Twizzlers. And there's a manager guy, because they were so busy. He was working the concession. And he goes, I'm sorry, we have Red Vines now. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. What? Yeah, Red Vines. They didn't have them. The manager guy goes, what did he say? He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, don't worry. It won't last long. The people in California don't know what the hell they're doing. I was like, I like you. If I ever have a place, you work for me. Travis Tritt. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of all the AB products. You know how much shit those people own? This is all the beer companies do it. Harley does it. I saw a commercial. It's people with the rainbow flag. It's 2 women riding a Harley with the rainbow flag hanging off the back. And it said, we welcome everyone to our family, to ride in our family. That's what it said. That's what the ad said. Somebody had posted it online. And it was, all these companies do it. I'm not going to drink out of no rainbow beer can. Good, don't. These people aren't going after your children. The words in the Constitution, which all these guys got together and wrote. And on it says, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union. I'm not saying it's always going to be perfect, but things got to change. And you cannot sit there and admit that it doesn't. All of us should always be trying to form a more perfect union. That's what it's all about. The simple point of it is to be able to sit down and talk about it. That is what it is. To form a more perfect union, people. Okay? All right, rant done. I think I need to take a break. All right, well, coming up, we're going to be talking about NHL. Mandalorian, yes. And I got another email. More John D. Podcast right after this. When I quit booze for good, one thing I learned was to always keep your palate entertained. And one of my new favorite ways to make it happen is BlendJet 2. BlendJet 2 is portable, so you can blend up a smoothie at work, a protein shake at the gym, or even an NA margarita on the beach. It's small enough to fit in a cup holder, but powerful enough to blast through tough ingredients like ice and frozen fruit with ease. BlendJet 2 is whisper quiet, so you can make your morning smoothie without waking up the whole house. Lasts for 15 plus blends and recharges quickly via USB-C. Best of all, BlendJet 2 cleans itself. Just blend water with a drop of soap and you're good to go. With over 30 plus colors and patterns to choose from, there's a BlendJet 2 to complement just about any style. What are you waiting for? Go to blendjet.com and grab yours today. And be sure to use the promo code JohnDPod12 to get 12% off your order and free 2-day shipping. No other portable blender on the market comes close to the quality, power, and innovation of the BlendJet 2. They guarantee you'll love it or your money back. Blend anytime, anywhere with BlendJet 2 portable blender. Go to blendjet.com and use the code JohnDPod12 to get 12% off your order and free 2-day shipping. Shop today and get the best deal ever. BlendJet 2. And welcome back to part 2 of John D. Podcast, episode 51, numero 51 in the old Espanol language. That's right. Yeah. How's it going? How was your break, everybody? So, I don't think there's any music. We could have music. Hey, are we going to have music on this? I'm being told no. Maybe. I'm being told it's a maybe. I'm being told to stop asking questions. Okay. All right. That's fine. The NHL season, regular season is over. My Washington Capitals are not going to be in the playoffs. I'm very sad. However, that team faced a lot of adversity during the season, a lot of injuries, a lot of guys that got injured last season, such as Backstrom and Wilson. And, it just was too much. When Carlson got smacked in the head by a puck and has a skull fracture. I mean, I swear that happens every year to a sports team in every professional league around the world. There's one team that just gets plagued by the injury bug, and, that's it. It ruins the season. It has not happened to the Caps much, and they've been fortunate in that, and that's the way it is. But I tell you, they're going to get a good draft pick for their first. They should have had 2, but they traded away stupidly. But they're gonna get a good draft pick, and it's gonna be interesting. And hopefully some of the guys they traded Orloff and Hathaway and Eller. I don't think Eller's going to come back, but I do think there's a good chance that Orloff will come back. I think they were just letting guys go out like, look, we're not going to do anything this year. Do you want to go out? All the guys got traded to contenders. So, and then they'll be free agents. So we could get some of them back, and I hope so. But it's time to move some of the younger players into playing roles. Time to get them up into the NHL level. Got the Hershey Bears are doing great right now. They're in playoffs, and they're going to do well. And at least they should, conceivably. So that's boding well of, they're the farm team for the Caps. So that should bode well for them. And that's what I'm hoping for as, being 49 years old and watching the Caps since I was about 11 or 12. That would be my statement. But I also like to study the game, and I'm telling you right now, I don't think I have been this excited about watching a playoffs in a long time, as far as especially when my team was not involved. It almost is sometimes more fun to watch when your team is not involved, just because you don't care. You're like, screw it. I mean, I definitely have ones that I cheer for. For instance, I am, with my Caps being out, all my Canadian folks, you're going to be glad to hear this. I am pulling for any team Canadian, right? That anybody who's Canadian. I know some of you guys are saying, hey, what about the Leafs? Okay, I know some of you guys, my buddy Daryl in Toronto, people like that. I know. However, I think it would just be good for Canada in general to just have a cup. Somebody bring it home. You have Toronto, you have the Maple Leafs in the Eastern Conference, and then you have Edmonton and Winnipeg in the Western Conference, all representing Canada. And I just, it's time for the cup to go home. That being said, it's going to be a very hard time for that to happen. Boston, of course, setting a record this year for wins in a season, which is that is a stacked team. And they do have Orloff and Hathaway from my Caps, which made them just even deeper as a team. You got the Rangers, although I don't think the Rangers are as good as a lot of people give them credit for. Actually, one real quick, how Penguins fans were dissing on Caps fans, saying, Caps are going to be out of the playoffs. Look who's not in either, bitches. So there you go. Let's enjoy. But there's a lot of really good teams, all the teams in the West, and, of course, the first round, which start Monday. I don't know if this episode will be released. Well, it should be before that. I don't know. I'm not really going to stick to a releasing schedule anymore. Fuck it. I'm just going to put them out when they're out. That's just the way it works, right? So that's going to be good. Caps, we'll get them next year. Ovi's going to be eventually. Congrats to him on this season, by the way, for becoming the number 2 all-time goal scorer in NHL history. That's pretty cool. And I got to see him score his first 2 ever in person. That's been an amazing ride as a hockey fan. I'm a big, but go Canadian teams. Seriously, go Leafs, go Oilers, and go Winnipeg. I don't see Winnipeg doing it, but Edmonton, that McDavid kid is just crazy. Just crazy. And, of course, you still got Colorado. We still have all these other American teams that are going to be very hard to beat. Now, let's move on to some nerdy things. Everything nerdy on John D Podcast is brought to you in part by MondoMonsterwear.com. Shirts that feed the geeky mind. Very cool shirts if you're into the nerdy stuff. Podcast at checkout for an exclusive discount, MondoMonsterwear.com. All right. So a lot of you may have done this before. You've been to Galaxy Cons is what a lot of them are called now, which basically is just a company, right? That's the people who run them. It's just a company. They have them in different places. They call them different things in different places. They're the cons, right? The Comic-Con, they used to call them back in the day. And they don't really call them that anymore. They're all usually like a city. But these Galaxy Con, there was one coming here to town. And I've been to them before. Not in a long time. Only a few. But I did get to go one in D.C. one time. I actually, by chance, was in New York one time and got to go one, which was really, really cool. I was only there for like a few hours. Like it was like Disney World. You couldn't do it all in one day. But I was there, got to go for a few hours. That was very cool. And then I've been to a couple here in local town. And the last one I went to, I had a good time. So it was coming back, and I wanted to go. I hadn't been in a long time. Thought I was going to take my son. My son's 10. And I remember last time I went, they had stuff. They had comic book stuff. They had some anime stuff. They had Pokemon. The kid had a good time, but there was not really as much for children as I remember being in the past. And I was really kind of disappointed. One thing was very cool. I did get my picture taken with the 501st Legion. I told them I was going to talk about them on the podcast. So if they do hear this by chance, if they remember, a couple of people I talked to there, so 501st Legion, there are people that go around to the different cons. And so the 501st Legion was Darth Vader's select troops that he had, legion of troops that he had that were only under his command. And so they dress up and they wear all kinds of characters and costumes. And it was really cool. They're very cool to see. Gave him $5, got a couple of pictures with them, which was very cool. So some of you women, they actually had a sign this year I thought was interesting where they said, cosplay is not consent. And I thought that was interesting. But, there were some women that walk around. Now, some of the women, okay, I get it. That some of these outfits you see in the cartoons and the animation and stuff, that they are what they are. But I mean, some of you ladies with the butts hanging out was a little much. But also dudes too. There was one guy walking around. I swear he was in tighty whities and some sort of something. I don't know what. I guess he was supposed to be some sort of Egyptian guy character. I don't know what it was. It wasn't anything recent that I would know about. But yeah, but it was fun to walk around and kind of be in that environment again. And just kind of, because I love my sports, but I love my nerdy stuff too. I like to be a multi-faceted type of interest because you have to, in my opinion. I think you have to. And that was really cool. But here's the story that I want to tell you about that. So Kevin Smith, the movie writer and director, of course, he did all the Clerks movies and then others in correlation with those and some not so, but he done a bunch of movies, famous guy. And of course, the Clerks movies. And I am on Twitter a lot, John D Comedy, John D Podcast. But I'm a fan of the movies. And Kevin Smith is very much into nerdy stuff. And a lot of the people that are in his movies have been sort of into it. And the Clerks movies have sort of been kind of grouped into that con sort of a thing. But he's into that stuff anyways. Kevin Smith is. And so a lot of the people who watch the movies are also fans, blah, blah, blah. You get it. So Brian O'Halloran. And now you'll know him. If you don't know the name, if you've seen the movies, he's Dante, Mr. I'm Not Supposed to Be Here Today. He's actually a Rangers fan. Jordan from Mondo Monsterwear. You might be happy to hear that. But, which, like I said, they're very good. The Rangers are very good. I don't know. So I talked about hockey sometimes, and he responds, and it's been cool. Nothing major. He's not my best friend in the, hockey talk community or anything like that. And he was coming to town, to the Galaxy Con, and I had messaged him. And he'd put something on Twitter saying, hey, I'm coming to it. And I said back, I said, hey, I'm not going to have the money to get to the picture with everything with you. Things are tight. Got to do that, right? I said, but I told him, I would be jumping around, waving, yelling his name or something. And he came back and he liked it. And then so we went to Galaxy Con. Me and the kid are walking around. It's a big place. We went into all these different corners. They had little conference rooms where animators of comic books I've never heard of. It has its own world to its own. Great, good for them. And my son and I came back over to this one spot, and he's not great on escalators. We don't have a lot of them where we live. So needs a little practice. And at this one point, he kind of got in front of me on this one escalator that was getting ready to go down. And I'm kind of nervous about that because he's kind of hemming and hawing on it. Don't know. And I look over, and coming up the escalator on the other side is Brian O'Halloran. And he had on a black shirt that said Quick Stop on it, which he probably wears to all the conventions. And I was just looking at him. He looked just like an older version of him from the movies. He had glasses on. And of course, the shirt helped. And he's come up the escalator. And he looks at my son and he goes, oh, kids and escalators. And he said something else. And I didn't even register it until later on when one of my friends said it to me. Talking about how that scene from Mallrats, where they keep talking about the kid on the escalator. But I just looked, I was like, yeah, he's getting better at it. We don't have a lot of escalators where we live. And he goes like, yeah, always a struggle. And I just pointed out, I said, hey, it was good to meet you, man. Story of my life. I put a thing on Facebook about it. That is the story of my life. If my kid had been standing there on the escalator, kind of hemming and hawing and having a difficult time with it, I don't think Brian O'Halloran would have said anything other than me going down the other side going, hey, Brian O'Halloran, hey. Right? That's all it would have been. And he would be like, hey. But because of the kid, I had an interaction with him. Speaking of which, and I saw this a bunch at Galaxy Con. This is what I'm about to talk about Mandalorian. And I saw a bunch of people dressed up in different Mandalorian type costumes. Not just Mandalorian himself, not just Mando, but also other characters. Bo-Katan, one person actually had a really cool Bo-Katan helmet on, but everything else was they were just dressed normal. Okay, that's cool. It's all you got. It's all you got. Spent your budget on the helmet. Cool. But there was people and some people had done variances of others, and like there was this one dude. Actually, there was this one dude. This dude looked like he was a football player, and he had a Mandalorian suit, that same type of a right, but it was painted like all black, and he had like a cape on and stuff. It was actually pretty tight. I was very much. That one dude actually, there was one guy walking around. I went around the corner. I thought he was a mannequin for a second. And like somebody had it was perfect. Like that dude spent some money, and I'm not saying he's better than somebody else who can only afford a helmet. But I was like, man, that dude, he must have an IT job. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? He's got to make that kind of money. He's got to. He's probably single. If he does, he might have a girlfriend, but I don't know. Either that, or he could be married, but he made his money when he was young. That's my point. I don't know. What do I know about making money? Anyways, Mandalorian. Speaking of people making money, Mandalorian has been okay. So have you guys liked it? Have you liked it or not? I have. This is the third season. I believe the plot arc timeline is supposed to run 4 seasons. So, and then of course they just announced at Disney Celebration there's going to be a Dave Filoni movie, which is supposed to tie in everything coming up, everything with Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, which we will get to see this summer with the awesome Rosario Dawson. Speaking of Clerks, I would pay Panera money to get my picture with Rosario Dawson. That's all I'm saying. That kind of money. As long as I'm just saying. But she's obviously, it's Ahsoka. That's going to be amazing. It's going to bring back that. It's going to bring in live action characters from Star Wars Rebels, which is going to be really cool. I know some people are like, really, John? Okay. I wonder how many people listen to this podcast and they one part of it, they're like, this is really cool. Or 2 parts of it, like, this is good. And the other parts like this, they're going, whew, all right. And vice versa. Right? Anyways, I've enjoyed Mandalorian. I think some of the things they've done, no spoilers in this. If you haven't watched it by now, I actually have not seen the newest one or the one before it. And, I think at 7 is the newest one that's out. So I have not seen that one yet. Or 6. Typical Dave Filoni style. It's typical what they're doing. Can you people please stop going 4 hours after the episode freaking drops at 3 a.m. and going, what did you think of this? Or what did you think? Shut up. 24 hours, 48 hours, really. Dropping 4 hours after it's over. Posting a picture of a character going, what'd you think of this guy? Assholes. That's assholish. And people go, well, then just stay off the internet. Well, I have a life. I have stuff to do. Actually, several times I've been like, man, I'm going to sit down and watch Mandalorian. And I don't because I'm working on other things or I'm just tired. But don't sit there 4 hours after it drops. And people are like, well, that's probably somebody in England. No, that's probably somebody up at 7 a.m. like me who's been up all night, watched it at 3 a.m. and now they're posting about it. I don't do that, but the posting part. But I will watch it at 3:01 a.m. And I know a lot of people are like, really, John? You're up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, my God. Yeah. So are a lot of other people. But I like Mandalorian. But please, people, stop posting with the shit right after it freaking gets out. But I like what they're doing. Apparently these last 3 episodes, the one I haven't seen, 6, 7, and 8, are supposed to be pretty epic. I don't know. It's all tying around. You got to understand, this is not going to get but so huge until we get into probably season 4. And it's probably lend itself into stuff with Ahsoka, which is going to be amazing, I think. Zeb. Yeah. Look, keep an eye out for that, Mandalorian people. There you go. There's a little. I'm not telling you what's happening. Just saying. It's quick. That's all I got to say. A lot of people who've watched the first 2 seasons are saying, well, this is not really doing it. Were there not points in the other couple seasons where, there were sort of these side episodes that they would do What was it? It's season 1 or was it 2? I don't know. But where they had the frog lady and the eggs, remember? And and Grogu kept eating all the eggs. You know what I'm talking about? That was sort of a side venture episode, So you can't, that's just the way it runs. That's typical Dave Filoni, especially if you watch Rebels series, the Clone Wars series. You'll know that. So, I don't know. Executive producer, Tom Hancock, that's his voicemail when you call him. He will probably go, you didn't really describe it. I'm just commenting. Maybe I'm really more commenting on the social media stuff. That's pissing me off. Seriously, come on. On the newest podcast. I get that. The group. We're going to review episode 6 an hour after it came out. We literally just stopped watching it. Here it goes. Like shit. All right. But I got to do this because it's a thing. So this is the last part. All right. I know. Thanks for sticking in there. Thanks for hanging in today. So I got an email. This is from a guy who's been listening to the show for quite a while. And he wrote him before, actually. We were talking about, it was back when I was doing my Name the Studio for a fee, basically, which I guess I would still do. I just haven't been running as sort of like my little shtick, right? But he wrote in and said he doesn't like Tom Wilson from my Washington Capitals, and said what was it? He said he wanted to name it Tom Wilson is a bitch, and I told him $1,000, and he never responded. So, but Wade, our longtime listener, Wade, wrote back in with a very interesting question. He says, "Hi John D Podcast," and I don't know if that's how you're saying, and I'm just "Hi John D Podcast." Like I don't know. Hi John D Podcast. I don't know, so I'm just reading it like that. Hi John D Podcast. Who is this Tom Handcuff you keep speaking about? Handcuff. Who is he? He's my best friend. I love him like a brother, and he's executive producer on the show, on the podcast. If he is a real person, will he ever appear on the podcast? I don't know. That's a discussion that has been made and had several times. But I don't know. That's up to him. If he wants to, metamorphosize out of thin air onto the podcast, I believe he's real. As many times as I've hung out with a guy, I'm pretty sure I didn't imagine there was a large bald guy making me laugh so much while I was sitting there. So I don't know. Will he be? I don't know. There's also maybe one day it could be one that he and I both do, if he's real. And then he says, okay. Rest of the email says, maybe you could also let us hear what his voicemail sounds like. Last time I talked to him, last 2 times I talked to him, which is not every day because he doesn't live where I live, and we talk for a while, but it's long distance. Hurry up. I don't know if he said I could or not. I guess he would just have to know that I'm doing it so he wouldn't actually pick up the phone, because he would probably answer unless he was busy, which he's a busy dude. He's got a lot of stuff. He's got life stuff going on. We all do. I'm not going to do it now while I'm recording. I should have laid that out ahead of time. Maybe we'll do that sometime, Wade. Maybe he'll let me play his voicemail. And then he writes, also bring back Norm. Oh, man. So that shows how long you've been listening, Wade. And I said, one, I sincerely appreciate that, because that means you're very cool because you listen to me through all of this. So Norm, when I first started, there was a smoke detector or something in my little studio here, and it kept beeping. And it just kept going and going. And it would just beep every once in a while. But this was the only room I really had that I could record in. And it kind of became a thing. At first, I was angry at him. Then he became a part of the friendly part of the show. And then I had some work done in the studio, actually during COVID, which was scary. But I had some people in here working on some stuff. And one of them was like, that thing's fixed. And I said, what's fixed? And they said, the beeping thing. And I said, what? So I don't know. I mean, I guess we got to wait. He's still got his name tag. It still says, hello, my name is Norm. And I hear you. I miss him too, Wade. I do. And will Tom Handcuff ever be, which by the way, you spelled his name wrong. Yeah, you didn't spell it right. And I'm not going to tell you how, but you did misspell it. Both first and last name are misspelled. So you figure that part out. Will he ever be on? I don't know. I would like him to. And he knows that. I tell him. I think it'd be a good one. I'll tell you that. But things are what they are. We shall see. All right. I got to get going. This has been too long an episode. I got to get this into post. I got to edit it down. The whole process is different now. Things are going crazy. But I'm very happy to be here, and I'm still happy to be Johnny Podcast. And whatever ends up happening with it, you know what? That's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, and it's going to be fine, and it's going to be fun no matter what. Whatever name, label goes on this thing, I do it because I like to do it, and I hope you listen to it, and you hope you enjoy it. And that's all I really want out of it. And I'm sorry if I have to put some things in here to kind of boost up my what I might get back out of it, at least in a monetary sense. But, you know, you can always support the show, John D. Podcom on Venmo, or you can listen to a few commercials, or you can go on BlendJet, right? And you can go on there, and there's other ways you can do it. So, all right, I got to get going. As always, like, subscribe, download, tell your friends, and don't forget your charities. No Kid Hungry. Many school-age children are in situations where they have the best meal of the day comes from school. Yeah, No Kid Hungry helps children with meals when children in need are away from school, such as weekends and holidays, okay? Wounded Warrior Project, brave men and women get support that they deserve for things for wounds, for external and internal, or even just simple things just as accessible housing, okay? Bestfriends.org, trying to make every animal shelter in the country no kill by the year 2025. Check out all those great .orgs if you get the chance, please. And if after that, after the charity, you got a little chair of me, as I said, John D. Podcom on Venmo. Don't forget John D. Podcast, John D. Comedy on Twitter, John D. Podcom, gmail.com, and on Facebook, John D. Podcast. All right. Executive producers for John D. Podcast are Tom Handcuff and Liz Miller. This episode was recorded and produced by yours truly, John D. Miller, in the Amber Tree Media Studio. Don't forget blendjet.com, John D. Pod 12 as your code for 12% off and free shipping. All right, that's it. We're done. This has been episode 51, numero 51, in the old Espanol language. That's right, of John D. Podcast. I've been your host, John D. Miller. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Until next time, later for you.